Vinicius Jr. signs for Real Madrid until 2032. I have so many thoughts, so much to say from an Arsenal perspective, from a Real Madrid perspective, and just from a football perspective in general. Um, I think the first place I should start is, look, I was really excited about the links for Vini. And so from an Arsenal perspective, it's very sad and unfortunate that we didn't get him, because this is arguably the best left winger in the world that we could have signed for a cheaper fee than what he's worth in terms of the general market nowadays. And it was a great market opportunity. And honestly, all I can say is I'm so glad Arteta, Berta, etc. backed each other and backed the club, backed the squad to go and try to make such a signing. Is it unfortunate that didn't happen? Yes. I don't think they could have done anything really better. The player loved the club. The player always wanted to renew, and that was always his first option. It is what it is. Now it's up to us to pivot. Is that Barcola? Is that Alvarez? And maybe you play him at the left. Maybe you play him at the 9 and just stick with Martinelli and Solis on the left. I don't know. I don't know what you exactly do, because the left right now is such a problem position. Maybe it makes that decision to not buy Semenyo in January look worse now. I don't know, but all I do know is that we have to pivot, and that means that we have to improve our attack. If that's Alvarez in, Gyökeres out, Alvarez and Jesus out, which doesn't seem right, or whatever else, it is what it is. We have to get it done. From a Real Madrid football perspective, and honestly, I don't want to appear salty. I might, and obviously, the comments might dunk on me and say I'm salty, whatever. But I think if we're taking this from a complete neutral perspective, this is another player that is making a mistake with their career, genuinely, and that might sound extreme, but genuinely, I cannot see how, from a sporting perspective, outside of the love of the game or, hate watching the club in terms of hate watching Arsenal, I don't see how you don't see that move would have been beneficial for Vini. Because the reason why my faith was so high was because I thought Vini was an alpha. I thought Vini was a Batman. I thought Vini was a Superman in terms of I thought Vini wanted to be the man for teams, the man for a club that wins the UCL, the man that wins the Ballon d'Or. And so I thought that he would want to be placed in GOAT level left wing conversations, with the Ribéry's, with the Ronaldo's. Ronaldo's not really a left winger, so let's remove him. But with the GOAT level left wingers, I thought he wanted to be in that conversation. But it's disappointing for me as a football fan. Honestly, remove the shirt, remove the bias in terms of being an Arsenal fan. It disappoints me that a player again wants to stick by a club instead of looking out for their best interest. Because let's just be honest, let's just have an open conversation, right? Ignore the clubs that we support. If Real Madrid win the Champions League, that means Mbappe is probably the favorite for the Ballon d'Or, not Vini. If Vini somehow has a better campaign than Mbappe, then it's probably going to be split in terms of votes, because Mbappe is who everyone looks at as the main man. The PR is with Mbappe. So if Vini has a better season, then it'll just be split votes. It's happened with Mane and Salah before. It's happened with so many teams, so many players, right? You had Jude and Bellingham that probably split some votes and caused Rodri to win the Ballon d'Or type of thing. And so in my eyes, if you wanted to be the Ballon d'Or winner, why would you stay in the shadows of someone that is most likely going to win the Ballon d'Or if you guys succeed? If this Jose Mourinho campaign works out, then you're not going to be the one that's looked at as the main man. You're not going to be looked at as the one that brought it home. And you're probably not going to be the one that lifts the Ballon d'Or. All three of those things are most likely going to go to Mbappe. So from a player perspective, if you have the ambition that, we all think you have and we all thought you have, why would you stay with the club just for your love? It doesn't make sense. And then you go to the second perspective of, this is the greatest league in the world. You'd get one of the best contracts, and you could probably be the face of the league. I genuinely don't understand why. To win a Ballon d'Or now, you would have to do some insane campaign with Real Madrid, win trophies, and then have a better international campaign than Mbappe, most likely. Because Mbappe for France turns up. That's very hard to beat. And if Real Madrid do great things, Mbappe is most likely at the heart of it. So it's very disappointing for me to see someone that can really go in the top tier of left wingers, in that greats conversation, that GOAT left winger conversation, not including Ronaldo, obviously. But instead, you chose to compromise, be second, third fiddle. It's just, honestly, it's sad for me a little bit because it doesn't make sense. And then you go from a Real Madrid perspective, and it doesn't make sense because if the reports are to be believed that Vini not signing means that Rodri is more likely not to come, or Vini signing means that Rodri is not likely to come because of squad space, then what? Why does that make sense? How does that make sense? And now Barca are going to sign him instead? There is no one, not a single person that can explain to me that can explain that is a good sporting decision on behalf of Real Madrid. You cannot explain that to me and explain it as a beneficial decision for the club. No way. Besides the fact that you love the player, that Real Madrid fans might love the player, there is no way you can tell me that makes sense. We've seen this Vini and Mbappe partnership, and it doesn't work. And then you add Rodrigo on top of that will also not work. Diamande, okay, he can actually hug the right, and he can, spread the pitch a little bit. But the Mbappe and Vini problem with Rodrigo coming back is still a problem. You still don't have a focal point 9. And you can't play... I don't think you can really play a midfield pivot of Bellingham and Jude and, try to sort something out with Mbappe as maybe a second striker and, a 9. Like, you don't have those profiles. The profiles don't make sense. And then on top of that, not only is the left-hand side balance an issue for the club, the other issue is that you cannot dictate tempos. You cannot dictate the game. When's the last time you've been able to look at Real Madrid's midfield? Real Madrid's midfield consistently dictating games, controlling games, creating chances, that type of thing. Even, I know a lot of the time, and even in their peak years, they used to counter a lot and were really good on transition. But beyond that, against the smaller teams and just in general, they were able to control games. They had Toni Kroos, they had Luka Modric. Where is their tempo setter? Who is their tempo setter? It doesn't exist. Camavinga, no, they want to sell him. He's clearly not mentally at the profile that he needs to be, and we've seen it in big games consistently, unfortunately. That club, I just think that shirt is a little too heavy for him, if I'm being honest. Tchouaméni, that's not his profile. This is a Casemiro-like player. And yes, we saw it in Liga when he was playing for Monaco, I believe it was. It was so long ago that I can't fully remember, but I believe it was Monaco. We saw his ability to progress the ball and that type of thing, but I don't know where that went, but it looks like it's gone. And you can't give Jude the box crashing, the defending, the progression. You can't give that all to him. Who solves that? Rodri. You play Rodri next to a Tchouaméni. Let Tchouaméni be more of an engine, be more of a physical prowess, while Rodri dictates the game. That makes sense. Then you have Jude crashing boxes, but if you need to, he can come deep and help with progression as well. That makes sense. You have Mbappe off the left. You have a 9, or you play Bellingham as a false 9 and put Valverde in the midfield as well. That all makes sense. There's so many options you have now, and all you'd have to do after selling Vini, bring in Rodri, and if you have any extra money, which I assume you do, go and try to get another 9. And if you can't, then okay, hopefully this signing that you guys made as a 9 works out. Hopefully. But now, I feel like we're in the same situation. Your midfielders are not good enough to be able to dictate games. You added Bernardo Silva, but I'm maybe forgive me if I'm mistaken, but in the midfield, that's about it. You re-signed Vini, great, but you still have the Vini Mbappe issue. What happens then? Is now Vini accepting to be second fiddle? Kukurea is a good signing. Dumfries, that's a bit confusing. What are you going to do there? Are you moving Trent to midfield and Dumfries at right back? Okay, Konate, your center backs. That's another issue. Konate is not exactly in great form, and we saw it for France as well. The one time he played, he looked horrible. We've seen him for Liverpool. Huijsen has been injured. Rudiger hasn't been himself. Asensio, you guys want him gone. Genuinely, I think the only position that they've actually solved, or the two positions that they've actually solved this window, is the right wing position and the left back position. And the right wing position is someone that is still not proven at the top level yet. So it's really the left back that I can be 100,000% certain. Diamando will probably work out. But Kukurea is the only 100% will work out because Kukurea is just established at this level. So for this to be your window, it's honestly sad. I thought, genuinely, as a neutral, I thought if Vini left and they signed Rodri, first of all, you're weakening Man City. Thank you. But secondly, I really thought that they would be back in the top 4 for Champions League. I really thought I would see them in the semifinals next season, us, PSG, Bayern, and them. But with this Vini re-signing, it just makes me feel like, okay, you guys are still at the position you guys were before. You guys are still in the round of 16 quarterfinals that you guys were before. And when it comes to Barca, you're letting Barca get Rodri. That makes Barca stronger. Do they even really need Rodri? Probably not. Obviously, it makes them better, but I don't think they really need him. You saw Rodri and Pedri for Spain, and there was no need, or didn't feel like there was a need for Pedri as much because Rodri did a lot of that job. So you actually look at Barca, and they don't really need him. It just feels like they're spending the money to buy him because they don't want Real Madrid to get him, and the opportunity arose, and it's a good player. So why not? But all in all, from an Arsenal perspective, it's time to pivot. Who do we pivot to? I don't know. I'm not sure. For Vini, brother, I've always loved Vini before the links, and maybe not as much after the links, but before the links for sure. But I'm really disappointed in some of the players in just this generation in general to not realize the opportunity that they get for their career, for their legacy, to branch out. Camavinga, Tchouaméni, all these guys staying at Real Madrid, it doesn't benefit your career long term. Yes, you're at an elite club, you're probably getting an elite pay package, you're in good weather. But this, Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Rodrigo, what are your guys' what is your legacies? I asked us about Rodrigo last season. I said he's a cuck. Why is he staying there? It doesn't make sense. You have two players that like to play off the left that are above you, clearly. And Vini, are you as big of a cuck? No, you're probably not as big of a cuck. But are you still a cuck? A little bit. Because you're going to be watching Mbappe eat the food that you could have had. You could have been a genuine Ballon d'Or contender at Arsenal. You won't be now. It's honestly disappointing for me a little bit to see players make unwise decisions because they're at the biggest club in the world. And finally, for Real Madrid, I don't think it makes sense. And so let me know in the comments. Let me know. Am I right, wrong? Am I deluded? Am I not deluded? Is this Arsenal bias or is this a genuine good take? I don't know. You guys let me know. But this is how I feel. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know how you guys feel. Take care.